one game away. Blow up. We're playing for something, man. We're playing for something. It's gotta mean something to you. It gotta mean something. Everything you got. Everything you got. Let's finish this.
Do it, fellas.
Let's go.
Let's do it, fellas.
Finish 2 3. 1 2 3. Finish.
I can't even think about all of the shit I did to fit in. Past hard to watch like a fucking scary movie. I'm always happy to meet somebody that never knew me. Change for the better, hope niggas are living through me. I put it all on the wax so the people can know the true me. Hard to remain sane when the people you love the most is what's causing the damn pain. Y'all beef by the same thing, we ain't playing the same game. It's all for my family. She the girl of your fucking dreams, but to me she a plain Jane. You dipper and ball man, I dump when them calls came. This that higher level thinking. I'm the type to jump the fuck off of the shit before it's sinking. Not here for no new shit. My game slide to boost it. Ain't I don't have to prove shit. Rockstar fight the fool shit. My movie, this the new script. I want a life with no bullshit. Nigga, I know on these news clips. That's why I dap him and move quick. Won't be around when they move switch. Won't be around when they lose clips. Won't be around for they lose lips. Might be the reason they pull shit. Yeah.
Yesterday's price is not today's price, Ravens. What you thought you were going to have to pay him, you're going to have to pay him more.
You know, as I was originally trying to record this, I had a bit of a sneezing attack. I just couldn't stop sneezing. Shit was wild. Fucked up the whole first recording. I had to stop because I couldn't stop sneezing. Shit was wild. It threw me off. It pissed me off a little bit, but we moved past that. Listen, yo, what is good with it? Welcome back to another episode of Kicking It with Saint. We going over the NFL trade deadline moves at the NFL trade deadline. So, you know, if you're a Packer fan, you probably don't have too much of a reason to be here unless you're just a big fan of the kid, in which I appreciate you being here. Pull up a seat, light a blunt, kick it with me. But your team didn't make any moves at the trade deadline. And that saddens me because, you know, it would appear that they would have made a move at the receiving position, but they didn't. And it'd be one thing to say, you know, they don't have the ammunition to make the moves. But they do. They have the draft picks to make a move. They have the players to make a move. They just choose not to. So, you know, very weird. And if you're a Packer fan banking on Odell Beckham signing with you at some point in time in the season, he didn't sign with this team last year when they had Devontae Adams and they were a good team. You think he gonna sign with a team that ain't got Devontae Adams and are a bad team? Stop it. I hate that for y'all, but listen, we finna go over these other trades. Now listen, I'm not breaking down every single trade that happened at the deadline. It's gonna be some trades that I miss. I might go over them quickly at the end, even though I just said I wouldn't. We'll see how that play out. But I'm going over the major trades, or the ones that I wrote down. You dig? So let's kick it. The Vikings get T.J. Hockenson. Now, I like T.J. Hockenson. I think I saw a pointless stat that said he was like the leading tight end at yards per catch or some shit like that. And it don't really surprise me that he having a good year, seeing as how he on one of the better offenses in the NFL. Now, here's the thing about this trade. I don't not like this trade because of anything dealing with T.J. Hockenson. I like T.J. Hockenson. And while I don't think he is a Mark Andrews, Gronk, Kelsey, George Kittle type of player, he might be just as good a catcher as George Kittle, just not the whole complete tight end like a George Kittle. I think he is a level below those dudes. And he could get into the category of those guys, but I just don't think he do some of the things that they do great. I don't think he do as great as them. But I do like T.J. Hockenson as a tight end. I think he is a great receiving tight end. But, you know, you had Stafford, you had Goff, so you didn't have the worst quarterbacks to work with, but you haven't really been in a winning situation his entire career. So it's going to be interesting to see what happened now that he's in a winning organization or in a winning situation with the Vikings. However, as much as I like T.J. Hockenson, and I understand the Vikings are 6-1 or 7-1 at this point, I still don't have faith in the Vikings ultimately. I think this is a team that, I'm not saying they could go cold down the stretch or nothing like that. I just don't think this is a team that's going to get to a Super Bowl. And it's not because of the talent on the team. It's because the quarterback. I like Kirk Cousins. But I done been watching this thing with Kurt for the last couple years, man. At some point in time, you just got to accept the quarterback is who they are. And while I think the Vikings have been good this year, I don't think they've been definitively good because of the offense. And I don't think you can say they've been definitively good just because of the defense either. But I think it's a mix of two and a hand in. You got great coaching right now. The coaching has been great for this team. But I look at this Vikings team, and on a week-to-week basis, the result damn near the same. Not as far as the win or loss, but how they play these games on offense. You got a great receiver, a great number one receiver in Justin Jefferson, a great number two receiver in Adam Thielen. Now you have a great tight end, and you have a great running back. But this team still don't blow people out. And I understand that in the NFL, a lot of teams ain't blowing each other out. But what I'm saying is you would think an offense with this type of talent would have more games in which they do what the Bills do to teams than they have. And it seemed like on a week-to-week basis, this team is always in a close competitive game because either Kurt get it going late in the game or early in the game and cold at the end. Like, it's no real in-between with Kurt. And I understand once or twice a season he can give you one of those really great games. But if you just look at Kurt play, something missing. Like, that's why I'm saying, like, you just understand what Kurt is at this point if you've been watching him his career, basically. He can put up all these gaudy numbers and whatnot because it's very rare that Kurt play without talent around him. Like, Kurt usually, for the majority of his career, then had a lot of talent around him, much like a Matt Ryan, in my opinion. But right now, and possibly late in his career, he could still be playing with a shit ton of talent that get him to a Super Bowl. But right now, I just don't see it. And I understand the NFC is not as strong as it's been in recent years. But if I'm putting Kirk Cousins up against like a San Francisco 49ers team right now, the 49ers are going to murk the Kirk Cousins and the Vikings. Kirk Cousins, I could see him having an awful day against that defense and watching the Vikings defense just fold left and right against this offense of the 49ers. Like, as good as the Vikings are, I don't look at them as a top team. But I do like the TJ Hockenson trade. Like, if I had to grade it, I'd probably give it like a B or a B+. But, like, let's say TJ Hockenson was traded to the 49ers, or not even the 49ers. Let's say he was traded to, like, the Chiefs. That'd be an A+ type of trade, in my opinion. Because TJ, not even the Chiefs, because they have a tight end. But let's say he was traded to, like, a team that needed a tight end, that had a great quarterback and a more prolific offense than what the Vikings have. Because, like, if you took Kirk Cousins off of the Vikings and put Pat Mahomes on the Vikings, this team would probably be averaging nearly 40 fucking points a game. Like, I just don't understand what it is with Kirk that just, he can't get over this hump of being a great, like, because the numbers to me don't matter with Kirk. That's where I done got to. Like, he put up these, and that's all people ever talk about when they try to make the case for Kirk Cousins. And nobody is saying Kirk Cousins is a bad quarterback. We just saying you can't win a Super Bowl with this dude right now. And to me, that's very evident. But TJ Hockenson is a great move. I don't think it's going to, like, not have any type of impact. Like, I'm pretty sure he's going to have a game or two where he go off. But in the long run, I just don't know if this move really moved the needle for them the way I think it would if he went to a different team, possibly. Good team to go to regardless. It's just I think this team is going to always have a ceiling. Because, for one, the defense ain't like it's like a, you know, I don't think that as good as the Vikings defense is, I don't think they like the Cowboys defense. You know what I'm saying? I think him going to the Cowboys would have probably even been a better move. But it's a good move. I like the trade. I like the addition for the Vikings. I don't know how big of an addition it will ultimately be because I just don't have that much faith in the Vikings or Kirk Cousins. But they head coach been great this year. The rookie head coach they have. He done been real good. Chase Claypool to the Chicago Bears. Now, if I had to grade this one, I'm probably giving this one an A. I'm telling you right now. I like Chase Claypool. I like him. I think he's a great receiver. I think he can be a number one receiver. He had a year where he looked like he was on his way to being a number one receiver. And then I understand that for some of these Pittsburgh receivers, their stats might be a little skewed because they played with a Ben Roethlisberger who was nowhere near as good as he was in his prime. even in like a couple years. Like, though his fall off at the end of his career was ridiculous. So I'm not even going to hold Chase and some of them other receivers for that. I'm going to just look at some of their, best plays and whatnot. And for Chase, he actually had a phenomenal year one year. Chase Claypool, if you don't think Chase Claypool is a number one receiver right now, I promise you it's just because of what was going on in Pittsburgh the last couple years. However, I really do believe that Chase Claypool is a number one caliber receiver. He got the height, he got the size, he got the speed, he got the hands. Like, when I watch Chase Claypool, I don't see a dude who really is missing it. Like, he could probably be, obviously you can always improve in things. He could possibly become an even better route runner. I don't think he's a bad route runner. But he could become a better route runner, I guess. Get in and out of his breaks more clean. But aside from a couple small minor things, to me, Chase Claypool is a number one caliber receiver. And to get this type of talent, Chicago, because when you trade, we're going to talk about a trade Chicago made to another team. But when you trade away who you traded away, and you bring in this dude, to me, I love that. Because you have a defensive-minded head coach, so you would think he wouldn't make that type of trade to trade away Roquan Smith. I'm going to just go ahead and say the player. But then to bring in Chase Claypool. And to me, it's just clear. You look at all the other quarterbacks, the young quarterbacks, who ended up getting top-level receivers, and look at the progressions they've made. The only one you can't use as an example is Lamar Jackson, because he got to be great without talented receivers around him. He the only young quarterback who's been asked to be great without talent around him. But that's neither here nor there. Without a number one receiver, because I know people they'll try to get real critical of what I say. But when you add a Chase Claypool, who to me, you put him on the team, he already the best receiver on the team. Like, he better than Mooney and all these other guys. I like Cole Kmet and Mooney, though. Like, I don't think they as bad of players as they've looked in this offense. I just don't think this offense mixed with Justin Fields at times I don't think it's as much as what word I'm looking for? A catalyst to winning for these other guys. Like, it don't influence or really do much for those dudes. Because, for one, Justin Fields he run a lot, which is a thing I guess they didn't encourage now, like, because that's the best thing we do on offense, fuck it. But now, maybe because you give him this receiver, things change. Because I do think Chase Claypool is a good receiver. And I don't know if they'll pay him or if they'll let him walk. I don't think that you base the rest of this year off of him fitting with Justin Fields. Because, for a receiver, you would think he got to get acclimated with the team and whatnot. But I think they should pay him. I think Chase Claypool, because the smart thing about trading for Chase Claypool, in my opinion, if you really don't know or don't think Justin Fields is it, and you fall into that situation where your head coach is like, bro, I didn't draft him, I want to get my own quarterback. And let's say Chase Claypool, you bring him in and he don't really move the needle as far as wins and losses, and you still end up in the top 5, or you end up in a position where you can get a top quarterback. Well, now you can say you gave Justin Fields a great receiver. He didn't really do much with it. We're going to move on, draft a quarterback, and put that new quarterback with Chase Claypool. So I think regardless of how it work out for Justin Fields, it'll work out fine for them for Chicago if they play it like that. Now, if they make the right decision draft-wise, who knows? I mean, this is the same team that could have had Deshaun Watson and chose to take Mitchell Trubisky. So, who knows who they'll use that draft pick on if that's how this thing end up playing out. But what I do know is I think Chase Claypool is a great addition, regardless of if he helped your current quarterback or your next quarterback. Like, that is a great receiver to have, in my opinion. And he going to easily turn into a number one receiver, in my opinion, also. Well, shit, we could go ahead and talk about who the Bears traded. Roquan Smith was traded from the Chicago Bears to the Baltimore Ravens. Now, I think this is a great trade. Now, I'm probably going to be biased and say it's an A-plus type of trade. But I really do think, like, this is a all-pro player. Like, Roquan Smith lead the league in tackles for the middle linebacker, or he just lead the league in tackles, period. Like, Roquan Smith is a phenomenal middle linebacker. He's one of the top 5 middle linebackers in the NFL. So this is a phenomenal trade, especially if you Baltimore and you re-sign him long term. Cannot imagine Baltimore gave up a second-round pick just to let him walk after 1 year. But we shall see. This is a great trade because, for one, Patrick Quinn, I don't care about all these. The man could have had a good week the last 1 or 2 weeks. But I know what I've been seeing from Patrick Queen over these last 3 years. And so putting a middle linebacker like Roquan Smith beside him, it just do so much for him. Now, I said that I thought he should get kicked outside to the pass rush. I don't think that's possible because you got so many other dudes coming back from injury now. You got other dudes who are already playing decent on the outside or playing good or producing on the outside. I really don't know. You have to have Patrick Queen get it together at middle linebacker. And if adding Roquan Smith don't help Patrick Queen, that's just going to make the decision even easier for Baltimore and what to do with him. Like, point blank period. If working with somebody this talented cannot improve his, game, then I like I said, I don't know what you do with Patrick Queen at that point in time. But that's a phenomenal trade. Now, while I gave it a A+ just because the caliber of player it is, I really think Baltimore's biggest need was still a receiver. I just didn't let that affect me grading the Roquan Smith trade. But I still believe Baltimore not going out and getting a receiver for Lamar Jackson was ignorant. And I still hope he leave this fucking organization and go to an organization that's willing to build around him. But moving on to the next trade. An A+ type of trade to me. Probably my favorite trade that happened was Bradley Chubb getting traded to the Dolphins. For one, if you don't know who Bradley Chubb is, you probably don't watch too much football. Two, if you do know who he is and you're like, bro, I ain't heard from Bradley Chubb in a minute. Well, that's probably because you haven't been watching the Broncos this year. Because he is one of the better players and one of the reasons that the defense has been as great as it is. If you look at some of these games they done played, Bradley Chubb actually done had about 2 or 3 games where he could have closed out games if the offense had done what they were supposed to do after he made those type plays. But nonetheless, he had been hurt in recent years. But when you play for a team that has been as bad as the Broncos has been, I can't really hold that on them too much, especially when you look at a dude like Von Miller who leave the Broncos, go to a winning organization, and done been phenomenal ever since. Because now he playing with the Rams. He played with the Rams last year, won a Super Bowl, and was phenomenal. Playing with the Bills this year, another winning organization, and he been phenomenal. So winning makes a big difference in my opinion. Bradley Chubb is a great pass rushing linebacker. And for the Dolphins, they needed it. I think they got like 15 sacks coming into this week 9. They needed to make this trade. To me, this is like I said, this is probably my favorite trade out of all the trades that happened. Like, I understand people who don't really know, like, who, not necessarily who don't know who Bradley, but who questioning, like, if he can stay healthy. I'm banking on the fact that I think he'll stay healthy and make a difference. The Dolphins adding Bradley Chubb he is going to love playing in Miami. That's a winning organization with a lot of big personalities on the team. I think that this is going to be one of the better trade deadline moves of recent memory, because I think Bradley Chubb finna go off with the Dolphins. Like, he is going to be a premier pass rusher in my opinion for them. For one, Bradley Chubb can do a lot of things for you anyways, because he can play the run. You ain't dropping him back in coverage. But to me, now that you put Bradley Chubb on a winning team, he gonna come in, because look at how he started this year, thinking that he was gonna be on a winning team. You give him that motivation. Now, I just think Bradley Chubb is one of the better trade deadline moves. Now, I could be completely wrong, and he could end up having no impact whatsoever on Miami. But I don't think that's going to be the case. Now they don't have to call in all these crazy... Bro, it just make a big difference when you got a dude who can go get to the quarterback without you having to run all these exotic blitzes, these crazy zero blitzes, and all these other crazy-ass plays. When you got a dude who can just line up and go beat his man on a regular basis, that makes a difference. Who can impact the throws on a regular basis. Who can continuously shrink the pocket on a like Bradley Chubb is going to make a huge difference for Miami, especially if he can stay healthy. And this was a huge need for Miami also. Like, when you look at a team like Miami, you see so much talent and so many great things they have going on. It can be hard to really, pinpoint something that they need. They needed a pass rusher, like a legitimate pass rusher, and they went out and got it. Like, it feel like something the Rams would do, to be completely honest with you. And you want to know while Miami to me don't look like that much of a worse team on paper than the Bills. Like, in ways, they look like a better all-around roster, in my opinion, to be honest with you. Like, the only real big thing that's a difference to people is the quarterback position. But other than that, if Miami put together a strong, like, and they are the only team that's done beat Buffalo, so I'm just saying, this Miami roster look very, very good right now. The Jaguars got Calvin Ridley. Now, I would love to give this like a A or a B, but I don't know what Calvin Ridley gonna be like. The last time we saw Calvin Ridley, he was taken before he was suspended for the gambling on the game. I think he also needed like a mental break from the game because they had started a lot of losing and shit like that. So I don't know what Calvin Ridley is mentally or physically. So it's hard for me to really say that this is a big trade. So I would give probably this like a C. But if he is still Calvin Ridley of old, and he come back remotivated and wanting to be on this team and make it like Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk, to me, could be a good little duo. I think they would still need to add a third receiver because I think Christian Kirk is a 2. And I think Calvin Ridley is a 2/3. More of he could play outside, but you really like him dominating in the slot. But I do like what they adding for Jacksonville. My only thing with the Jacksonville Jaguars is, as much as I do like some of the additions they've made over the offseason and whatnot, it ain't gonna matter if Big Dog can't stop turning the fucking ball over so much. Like, Trevor Lawrence is going to have to stop turning the ball. I saw a post today that was like, yo, the Jaguars got a lemon. They could have got 2, and they ended up taking Buddy. And it's like, yo, they got a lemon. And, like, I'm not going to say they got a lemon. I'm not going to say he a bust right now. But, yeah, bro, like, you got to stop. It's one thing if it's so very clear the talent around you is letting you down and all these other type of things. Man, he turning the ball over a lot. And it's a lot of bad turnovers. Like, why would you make that throw, my guy? Like, you're supposed to be the chosen one. Like, why would you make that throw, my guy? So, and I get it. I get all the people who becoming very critical. Because I was saying it the other day. Or I saw somebody say it the other day. As critical as people have become of Justin Fields, that same criticism need to be put towards Trevor Lawrence. And I'm at that point where I agree, because Trevor Lawrence, this turnover thing, my boy, it's I'm not gonna lie, it's pretty wild, bro. Like, the level of which he turned the ball over is pretty fucking astounding to me at times. So, yeah, I agree with people who say, like, yo, Trevor Lawrence got to clean this turnover shit up, because from the fumbles, the picks, like, I agree. It's a problem. It is a problem. However, with that being said, if Calvin Ridley come to this team and he looked like old Calvin Ridley, or just look like a receiver who want to compete, because I don't think he washed or nothing like that. It's still a young dude. And even though he didn't had a year off, I don't think this going to be one of them situations where Calvin Ridley just turned into an average receiver. Like, I think he'll be a good receiver with the not only do I think he could be a good receiver, he could be exactly one of the type of receivers they need, who can work the middle of the field and all these short routes and whatnot to pick those type of things up to get Christian Kirk stretched out wide and whatnot. But to me, the Jaguars have the pieces. They have the coaching. You know, I said they need another receiver in my opinion, but that's just it. Any team that don't have a number one receiver, that have a quarterback who they think is going to be the future, they need to have a number one receiver. That's just my thoughts on that altogether. But, yeah, I think this is a decent trade, good trade. Could end up being a great trade. I just don't know right now based off I haven't seen, where is Calvin Ridley at physically and mentally. And then the last trade I'm going to talk about is Nyheim Hines to the Buffalo Bills. Now, I didn't really know how to grade this, because before I actually graded this one a C at first, because I was like, oh, it's Nyheim Hines, he's straight. But then I was watching Pat McAfee show, and I saw how they talked about him, and it kind of influenced me. So I was like, okay, well, he way better than I. And I didn't think he was a scrub or nothing like that. And I knew he had that one decent season. I don't even know if it was a full season, but I know he had that little stretch where he was balling. And I think I'm going to land in the middle, because they view it probably as an A. I viewed it as a C. I'll probably land in the middle at a B. I think he's a better running back of everybody on the Bills roster easily now. So automatically that's good for the Bills because you get a better running back than you had. Not to mention, I don't know if he become a every down running back. I think that's an easy possibility that he could become that because Devin Singletary he's been inconsistent throughout his career in Buffalo. But, I don't know because they had I think Nyheim Hines is a good running back. I'm interested to see how this one play out. I'm going to give it a B because I do believe he's the better running back out of every running back they have. And if the Bills can get production from the running back position, like real legitimate production out of the running back position, that make this team very scary. So, and it make it easier for Devontae Adams. It make it that much easier for Josh Allen and Stephon Diggs to destroy teams if they have a running back that's legitimately picking up yards on the ground and giving them production from the running back position. So, I'm going to give it a B because Nyheim Hines has proven he can be a good running back. He just had to play behind Jonathan Taylor eventually, but we'll see how that turn out. Listen, like I said, if he can end up becoming, I'm not talking about like a Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, just a good running back, then yeah, that's going to definitely change shit for the Buffalo Bills because that's what they need. And that's going to be very scary for other teams. So I'm going to give it a B. But those are my thoughts and my grades on the trade deadline moves and acquisitions. Dudes heading to new teams and things like that sort. No. If your team didn't make a trade at the deadline, it's because of one of two reasons. They didn't need to, or your team just don't care about winning. Examples. Green Bay clearly don't care about winning. Because why would you not go get a receiver? Like, I don't understand that for the life of me. You don't sign receivers, and you don't go trade for them. Like, I don't really understand what's going on. And you don't draft them because, you hoard these picks, and you don't come. All you had was Devontae Adams. I bet you Aaron Rodgers could use a tight end like a fucking T.J. Hawkinson. I'm pretty sure he could have used a Chase Claypool. Like, I'm the last trade I forgot to mention, Christian McCaffrey. I don't know how I forgot Christian McCaffrey, even though I already talked about the Christian McCaffrey one, so I'm really not going to go over that again. I done talked about that in a previous video. For the Christian McCaffrey one, that should be, I want to get at an A. I want to give that trade an A+. I can't, though. I got to give it a B+ right now because of Christian McCaffrey's injury history the last couple years. He make it through the entirety of this season, immediately A+ type of trade because Christian McCaffrey is that type of player. He is that good of a player. To me, you get that type of player, and he was born to play in Kyle Shanahan's offense. So if you tell me Christian McCaffrey right now is about to get 49ers 3 to 4 years healthy, that's an A+ trade every fucking day of the week. But if you're telling me right now he's going to have a career in San Fran based like with the field with injuries like he done had the last couple years with Carolina, then I'm going to say it's a B. Because I think you'll still get a good amount of production out of him. Just not nearly what you thought you was going to get out of him when you made those trades for him. But aside from that, Green Bay. Your team doesn't, your management, your upper management, whoever the fuck running that team, Gunther Kuntz, don't care about you, bro. I don't understand. I understand dudes not wanting to sign there in free agency. What I don't understand is how you cannot figure out ways to make trades to bring over to you. And I don't want to hear that shit. Oh, Aaron Rodgers' contract. Man, motherfucker, a lot of dudes make a lot of money on contracts and they still figure out ways to get talent in there. I'm not trying to hear that shit. If you really thought I really think it's this thing with GMs, with organizations, when they got great quarterbacks, good quarterbacks, they get lazy. They blame the quarterback for everything. And they like, bro, we don't have this talent and we don't need to get it because our quarterback can overcompensate for lack of said talent. I'm telling you, bro, these organizations is shiesty. They shiesty as hell. I'm telling you. But listen, with that, I appreciate you for joining me on another episode of Kicking It with Saint. Tell somebody you fuck with them. Tell somebody you love them. Go Phillies. Saint out.
I got the moves like hot sauce. Lil' mama taking the top off. I'm laying down getting topped off. After this, she know she getting knocked off. I know she loving the money, so I keep on thumbing and thumbing. She say she horny when she taking shots, so I keep them coming and coming. Now I'm putting dick in her tummy, scoop her up like I'm raking her something. You would think shawty red track, the way that she running and running. You getting dumber and dumber, you out here chasing the bone. After she finished from giving me dome, the Uber is taking her home. Tight.